We spend so much time studying success, right? We read all those books, the ones, about excellent companies, visionary companies, companies that were built to last. But what if we're looking in the wrong place? What if the real lessons, the ones that stick, don't come from the winners at all, but from the ones who completely blew it? Okay, let's get into it. Today we're going to dig into the costly, kind of embarrassing, but absolutely fascinating screw-ups from some of the biggest brands on the planet.
And this really gets to the heart of an idea from the marketing legend Jack Trout. His whole point is, look, success is great, it's inspiring, sure, but failure? Failure is a way better teacher. Why? Because it tells you exactly what not to do. There's no ambiguity. It just strips away all the hype and shows you the cold, hard truth of how things really work.
And here's the kicker with that whole study success model. You take a book like In Search of Excellence, so many of those celebrated companies, I'm talking Kodak, Kmart, even IBM for a while, they ran into huge trouble just a few years after the book came out. It turns out their excellence was temporary, but their failures, man, the lessons from those are forever.
All right, so let's do it. Let's learn from failure. We're going to look at some of the biggest brands out there and the epic blunders that cost them literally billions of dollars.
First up, we've got mistake number 1, losing focus. And this one often comes down to the danger of something called line extension.
Now, on the surface, this sounds like a no-brainer, right? Hey, people love our brand, so of course they're going to love this new thing with our brand name slapped on it. But, and this is a big but, that logic is a trap. As we're about to see, it's fatally flawed. See, marketing is really a battle for what's in people's minds. And when you stretch a brand name over too many things, you don't make it stronger. You risk watering it down until it means, well, nothing at all.
And our first case study is an absolute classic. We're talking about the Miller Brewing Company, a perfect example of what happens when you take a good thing way, way too far. So picture this. It's the 1970s. Miller has an absolute smash hit on its hands, Miller High Life. Now, they took the champagne of beers and brilliantly aimed it at the blue-collar Joe Sixpack crowd. Miller Time became this legendary slogan. Sales just went through the roof. I mean, they had a rock-solid brand.
And then they did something truly revolutionary. They launched Miller Lite. And that campaign, with all the retired athletes arguing, tastes great, less filling, genius. Pure genius. They didn't just launch another beer. They basically invented the entire light beer category from scratch. It was one of the biggest product launch successes in history. Period.
But this is where the story takes a turn. Miller got cocky. They were so successful, they figured the name Miller itself was just magic. So they launched Miller Genuine Draft. And yeah, it was a hit at first. But here's the problem nobody saw coming. It wasn't stealing customers from Budweiser. It was stealing them from their own brands, from High Life and Light.
And then things got desperate. The company actually launched something called Miller Clear, a beer with no color. I'm not kidding. Just think about that for a second. It looked like a bottle of Crystal Pepsi or something. And it bombed hard. I mean, consumers were just totally confused. And who could blame them? What even is that? Is it beer? Is it water? What's happening?
And this just perfectly sums up the whole problem. By the time they were done, if you walked into a bar and asked for a Miller, what did you even mean? High Life, Light, Genuine Draft, that weird clear stuff? The powerful, simple idea of Miller now stood for everything, which means it stood for nothing. Their focus was completely gone.
That complete lack of focus, it leads us right into our second major mistake, forgetting who you are, losing your identity. And for this one, we have to talk about the train wreck at Xerox.
So, let me ask you a simple question. What business is Xerox in? I mean, the answer seems pretty obvious, doesn't it? But the huge, massive gap between how they answered that question and how their customers answered it, well, that gap is where billions of dollars just vanished into thin air.
Okay, so here's the absolute heart of the problem. It's this massive perception gap. Inside the company, in the 1970s, Xerox execs decided they were in the information business. They wanted to be just like IBM. They were going to sell computers. But out here, in the real world, in the customer's mind, Xerox meant one thing and one thing only, making a copy.
Heck, their name was a verb. To Xerox something was the phrase. They owned the idea of putting marks on paper.
And it didn't matter that they spent billions, that's billions with a B, on new companies and ad campaigns trying to convince everyone they were a computer company. The perception just never, ever changed. A Xerox machine that couldn't make a copy, well, it just didn't compute for people. You cannot change a perception that is that deeply burned into the public's mind. And trying to? It's one of the most expensive mistakes your brand can possibly make.
Okay, and that brings us to mistake number 3, completely misreading your competition. And for this, let's head to the fast food front lines and look at Burger King's battle plan.
Burger King was at its absolute peak, its most successful, when it knew exactly who it was, the challenger. Think about it. Campaigns like Have It Your Way, that was a direct shot at McDonald's and their rigid system. Broiling, not frying. That created a clear, tangible difference in the product. They defined themselves by being everything McDonald's wasn't. And you know what? It worked like a charm. Sales shot up, market share grew, they were on fire.
But then, they just stopped. They stopped attacking. They started launching these weak, generic slogans that sounded like they were trying to be the leader. Best food for fast times? Come on, everyone knew McDonald's was faster. And slogans like, got the urge? I mean, what does that even mean? It was totally forgettable. The second they abandoned their attack plan, they lost who they were, and all their momentum just fizzled out.
And here it is, the big lesson. Learn the very hard way. If you are not number 1, your entire job is to find a weakness in the leader and attack it, over and over again. When you're the challenger, you simply cannot afford to be generic. You have to be the clear, obvious alternative.
So what's the one big idea that connects all of these stories? We've got Miller's messy portfolio, Xerox's identity crisis, Burger King's failed campaigns. What's the common thread? It's this, and it's maybe the most important thing to understand about marketing. It's not a battle of products, it's a battle of perceptions. It's not about being the best. It's about owning one single, powerful idea inside your customer's head. So, after wading through all these billion-dollar blunders, what are the big takeaways for us? It really comes down to 3 dead simple rules. First, stay focused. Don't stretch your brand until it snaps. Second, own your identity. Don't try to be something your customers don't believe you are. And third, know your enemy. If you're not the leader, your job is to attack, attack, attack.
And that leaves us with one last thing to think about. I want you to look around at the big, famous brands of today. Which ones, right now, seem to be making one of these classic mistakes? Are they losing focus? Forgetting who they are? Misreading the competition? Because you'll see it happening. I guarantee it. These patterns of failure just keep repeating, and the lessons they teach, well, they're always learned the hard way.